Hello, and welcome back to My Artist Friend, the podcast about the artist behind the art. I am your host, Becky Helms, and it has taken me weeks of making this podcast to realize that I should not be telling you what next week's podcast is going to be. I don't know. I truly don't. Last week I said I was going to have another interview for you, but it's the first episode of March and we need to do our Snart theme. So we had to change things around and that's fine. It is what it is. I'm just a girl in an unfinished guest room screaming into the void about art and creativity. Or at least trying to. So I'm just going to go ahead and stop saying what next week's episode is going to be, and it'll be a surprise for all of us when it happens. It'll be fun. Anyway, today's episode is all about Snart. If you don't know about Snart, I'll link a couple of other episodes. I did one just kind of talking about what it is, and then actually my most listened to podcast so far was the one about the Snart theme for February. So if you are new to the concept of Snart, all it is Snack+Art. It started as an idea of something to do after school with my 9-year-old, so we could do a little bit more kind of art history, art practice, have that in our home. The snack is just kind of tangential at this point. Grab what you can, Now is not the time to be picky about, making cookies from scratch every day for school. That's not a thing. But we do have themes. So January was collage and February was ceramics. So I talked quite a bit about that. And then my son, actually, we were talking about it this weekend. I was like, what should our Snart activity be for March? And he immediately said photography. I said, okay. I was surprised. It wasn't anything that we had been talking about, but he was just like, boom, photography. And I said, you got it, dude. So I spent some time kind of looking up artists for inspiration for us, some books to look at if you need more inspiration that way. And then I have a whole list of activities and projects to do. So let's get into the Snart, man. All right, so the first photographer that comes to my mind anytime you're like, oh, name a famous photographer, it's always Ansel Adams. It's a lot of beautiful black and white landscape photography. So if you want some kind of landscape inspiration, just look at Ansel Adams. It's beautiful. You can't it's so good. The second person I think about is Cindy Sherman. When I was in school getting my art degree, I took a new media class and we did all kinds of stuff. We did Flash project. We dubbed over, he gave us a whole movie, split it up between people, and then we had to dub over it, which was really fun. I used a clip from the Muzi commercials, the Je suis la jeune vie. Only very specific people will understand what that is. But we did all kinds of stuff in that class. Lots of, going to museums, looking at performance art, looking at all kinds of stuff. It was very cool. But one of the things we had to do was he assigned us photographers and we had to emulate their style. And he chose Cindy Sherman for me. And I have been obsessed with this woman ever since. We were at, I think it was a MoMA in New York once, and she had an exhibit there, and I didn't even realize it was going to be there. And the prints were enormous, 6 feet tall. At least that's what it seemed like to me. It was 15 years ago. This could be completely wrong, but it's in my head. And I was just like, oh my God, she's here. I was freaking out. I had so much fun recreating pictures. I don't know if I can find them because it was from a long time ago. So they were, things you had to print out, things you had to share. Anyway, love Cindy Sherman. She did specifically, I'm rambling, not even telling you what she's all about. She would do self-portraits but she would create a scene. So each portrait really looked like it could be a still from a movie. Like it was they were all very dynamic. They all look like they have these really intense backstories. It's like you're in the middle of an action or a feeling, but it's just a self-portrait. You're like, surely there's more that I can see from this, like this has to be a fully fleshed out story, but it's a self-portrait. So cool. Love her work. Definitely take a look at her stuff. She's amazing. Now, if you're looking for some inspiration for actual portraiture, look up Sarah Darragon. I got to meet her at Craftcation like 5 years, 6 years ago now. And I love her work. It is so bright. She always uses like the backgrounds are always very vibrant, but the subject still pops. You know what I mean? Like her portrait work is so fun and just right up my alley. I love something bright and fun and punchy, and they're just a really good time. Another person to look at if you do want to do some portraiture, if you want to do some self-portraits, take a look at David Suh. I think it's Suh or Sue. But he specifically has a whole TikTok, Instagram about posing. So you can practice posing in different ways, kind of without feeling silly in the moment. You know what I mean? He does a really great job explaining like the lines and the angles of the body to make things a little more dynamic. As a millennial, my classic like peace sign, hey, that's what I go for. And like I try to look at David's stuff and try to emulate. It's hard in front of a camera. I'm not gonna lie. I get real goofy and I just want to do like a big old smile, kind of face. He does a good job of explaining and making people feel comfortable doing something a little bit different. So if that is something you want to mess with, doing portraiture stuff, definitely check him out. And speaking of portraits, I have to shout out Jessica Watkins, again, my friend, Tiny Deer Studio. We have an episode together. She is incredible. She is also an amazing photographer. That's kind of where she started with her small business. And we still have photos of hers, in the house. And I love her work too. Another person who is really bright, really fun. She does human portraits and pet portraits. And her product photography is so beautiful. She did kind of dioramas with set up photos with like little figurines and things like that a long time ago. They're gorgeous. So if you want some photo inspiration, you can also look to her as well. And then when I was Googling, I was like, let me just do a little Google and see what's going on in the photo world. And there were a couple of people that really kind of caught my eye as sort of contemporary fine art photographers that are working now. One of them is Maria Svarbova, and her stuff is so cool. Right now, she's got this work that I didn't go like super far into her past, but her recent stuff, it's a lot of like divers and swimmers with kind of like lined up and the reflection in the water. It's very symmetrical. It's very like Wes Anderson-ish, and the shots that she's lined up are really interesting. They're very cool. Like you should definitely look at them, but just her use of kind of reflection, of symmetry, of just the way she lines up a shot. It's really cool. It's very creative. And then the last one I found that I thought was really interesting is Janet Sternberg. She used disposable cameras for some stuff. She's written a lot of books. She's done so much work, but what stood out to me was the fact that she used disposable cameras in fine art, which I love. And she also kind of photographs everyday life, everyday scenes. You look at it and you're like, that's just some concrete steps. But she is more concerned with kind of the layers of life. So you look at these concrete steps, but the angle of them is interesting. What's sitting underneath of them? How many, coats of paint are on this? Like it's a lived in kind of snapshot. And you can really get a lot from the framing of it all and the color usage and the light and everything. It's really cool. I definitely think that would be a really good one, especially if you want to go out and do some kind of street photography. If you want to look around and photograph architecture, I think she picks really interesting subjects to focus on. So another one to look at. And I have links for everyone always. Now, last month, I had kind of a list of books that looked really interesting to me for ceramics. And I started to look for photo books. We have a handful downstairs because we love photography. And there are so many different art books, like just so many. You can get books that are specifically from artists, so you can dive deep. You can get some that are compilations. You can get stuff that is super technical. And as someone who, like, I want to understand f-stops and everything. I took a private class with someone once and it clicked for a minute, but my brain was just like, I'm sorry, you're not allowed to remember this. So I have so much respect for the people who truly understand the technicality. Like, I know that if the aperture is wider, more light gets in, and I know, like, I don't know, but my brain just won't put it all together. It's really frustrating. It's kind of like when I was talking to Sydney about how I wanted to learn the piano, but like, I know the notes on the page and I know the notes on the keyboard, but putting those together, my brain goes, no, hun, that's okay. It's not for you, and that's okay. It's the same thing. But there's so many technical books out there. And there's also so many YouTube videos you could watch if you want to learn the super technicalities of photography, which is wonderful. But I just found a couple of kind of compilation books that looked really interesting to me that I would like to get now. So one of them is called Photo Work, 40 Photographers on Process and Practice. And that was edited by Sasha Wolf, and it was by Aperture, not the Portal people. I'm sorry, I couldn't resist. Anyway, it looks really cool because I love the idea of seeing like compilations and learning how different people work and seeing different styles. And then books like that, you can look through and find someone that really speaks to you and then kind of dive deeper on each artist. And in the same vein, there's a book called The Women Who Changed Photography, and that's by Gemma Padley. And that one looked really cool too. It's all women photographers and the subjects look very diverse. It looks really interesting. And I just would love to know more about the women photographers that are working now. You know what I mean? So that's really all I've got for books. Honestly, you can just go to the library and just cop a squat in front of the photo section and go wild because there's so much to learn and so much to see in the world of photography because there are endless ways to express yourself, endless things to document, to depict. It's another very wide kind of artistic subject. Okay, next we're going to talk about some activities you can do specifically, not projects, but like things you can kind of like go out and do either with your kiddo, with a friend, with your family, by yourself, something to kind of get you out of the house and do something fun. So the first thing, go to a museum. See what museums have photography exhibits, and then you can look at the photos there. And I love doing the comparison, just like with ceramics, just like with collage, like, okay, what's the difference between something that ends up in a museum and something that, you take a picture of with your phone? You know what I mean? Sometimes the similarities, they're right there. And it's really interesting to see the difference. And I just love the contrast and the similarities between fine art and craft. It's a fun thing to talk about. Another thing you can do is go on a photo walk with your friends. Just pick a place to go, pick some friends, grab some folks, and just go take pictures anywhere. Doesn't matter where. I'll have project ideas later of places you can actually go, but the idea is to get people out, kind of going to the same place and then see what kind of photos everybody takes because they're all going to be different. So I think that's really fun. That was another thing we did in my new media class is I went to school at Salisbury State University in Maryland, and our activity was go to Ocean City and take pictures. And we all kind of walked in the same general area and everybody took pictures of very different things. So it was really fun. So in that same vein, you can use a trip to the zoo or the botanical garden also as a photo project. So that's a really fun activity, especially if you're going specifically looking for things that stand out to you, things that you think would make a really good photo, and really thinking about your framing when you are looking at that flower or that elephant. You know what I mean? It's different than going and just taking a snapshot of, oh, look, there's a cassowary. It's, how can I frame this shot to make this cassowary look as scary as possible, because they are terrifying dinosaur birds? You know what I mean? Like, it's just a different way to document. Another fun thing to do is get creative in a photo booth. My family loves a photo booth. We have so many little strips. Anytime there's a photo booth, like, we are there. And I think it's a really fun way. You can do all kinds of silly things. I've seen people, like a group of 4 people will go in like one at a time real quick. So you have like 1, 2, 3, 4 people in the strip. You know, there's all kinds of silly faces. There's so much you can do with it. You could even bring stuffed animals. You could bring signs, things written on them. You can do, the sky is the limit when you start thinking about stuff to do in a photo booth. You're gonna look a little wild. People will look at you strangely, but I hope that if you're the kind of person that listens to this podcast, you're not gonna care about that. We're all weirdos here. Okay, and my last kind of activity is to go to your thrift store, and an amazing place to take photos, and B, see if they have any cameras there. Like, they might have some, 90s film cameras. They might even have some older digital cameras. We all had our digital cameras in our bags, along with our iPods and our brick phones or the flip phones, all the accessories. So see if they have any cameras there. And I think it'd be really fun to just take pictures from a thrifted camera. I love it. I love saving cameras. We have a little camera collection at home. We love them. I can't help it. I want to rescue cameras. And someday, maybe when I get my stuff together, we'll have some kind of display case or shelf or something with all our fun vintage and thrifted cameras. Okay, so we have talked about artists for inspiration, books to check out, kind of activities to go and do around photography. And now we're going to get to the project ideas. And I had a lot of fun coming up with these. Okay. A, try out different cameras. So there are, film cameras, disposable cameras, instant cameras. Although disposable cameras now, tell me why they're like $20. I was like, this is going to be kind of an investment month. Hopefully it's not too expensive. If you've got a smartphone, like, go for it. Like, you don't need to buy anything extra. But if you happen to have, an instant camera, an Instax or a Polaroid, we have both. I told you we're weird camera people. Using your phone, using a digital camera. But yeah, disposable camera, I want to do it again. I think it'd be really fun to give my kid a disposable camera, myself a disposable camera, and then go walking somewhere, or like document our day. And I'll get to that in a minute. I'm getting ahead of myself. And just see what he does. I wish it wouldn't be disruptive at school, because I would love for him to take it to school and just see what his day is like. I think that'd be cool. But I don't know that his teachers would be into that, which I totally get. I totally get that. But yeah, experimenting with different cameras, seeing how they work. Like, we're not getting super technical. We are not going in and developing our own photos. That is a bridge too far. But you can see the difference with different types of film. You can get some black and white film, get some color film, get some different types of film just to see how they come out, and just see the difference between stuff that's taken on the phone, taken on your Instax, taken with a disposable camera. I think it's fun. I love the differences in photography and the different kind of feels and perspectives and like emotions you can get out of a photo, just by how it's edited and how the film looks when it comes out. I don't know. But there are places that you can mail in your film and have it developed online. If you don't have a place near you that develops pictures, I swear, like every grocery store, used to have film developing, every drugstore would have, you could drop your film off and get it developed there. But gone are the days of physical media. And I would love for us to get some physical media out of this project. Anyway, I digress. Okay. Another project you could do is a photo diary of the day or of your week or of the month if you want. And just like really, do you know that there's like that comic book day where you draw like a comic an hour kind of a thing? There used to be a photo an hour project that people would do kind of once a year, but it might be an interesting thing to do. Like just have a little alarm set on your phone, you know, pick up your camera, pick up your phone, take a picture of that moment, and then you can kind of have documentation of your day. Or if there are just things, activities, just little things you want to document as your week goes on, or if you want to document the whole month, even just of photography, I think it'd be really fun. That's an easy one too. And like I mentioned before, you can have two people document the day and then see the differences between the two, because even on the weekends, if we stay home, my day is going to be very different from my kids. Like he's going to be reading books. He's going to be playing with Lego. I'm going to be patching up a wall. It's going to be a little different, but it'd be fun to see a day's worth of photographs, especially like the same amount or even like the same times ish. That might be getting a little too granular, but you could have a little photo album with like a picture, like one on top, one on the bottom of like, this is what I was doing. This is what my kid was doing. You know what I mean? And you can even do like 3 at a time. Like all 3 of us at home could do the same thing. And I don't know. I think it's a fun idea. It's a little loosey goosey, but do with it what you will. Okay. Next is nature photography. That one should be pretty easy. You can do macro photography, that's getting up really close and getting all the teeny tiny details of a flower or a bug or the bark of a tree with ants crawling on it. You know what I mean? Or you can zoom back and do some landscapes, go up on top of a hill and try to see how much of the world you can photograph at once. I love a little nature photography. I am the one taking pictures of the birds. I'm the one getting into that flower. Ooh, what is that? If I see a little creek and some sunshine, it's all over. It's going in my phone. All right, next thing you can try is street photography. Go into a more urban setting and take pictures of what you see there, what stands out to you. Is it storefronts? Is it people's fashion? Is it just the architecture around you? Like, what speaks to you? Is it colors? Is it patterns? Is it the way the light is bouncing off of one building onto another? See what really stands out to you in an artistic way and take a picture of it. But don't take pictures of people without their permission. I don't know if I would be someone who would walk up to a stranger to do street photography and fashion photography, but I'm obsessed with seeing them on Instagram. So if you are a brave person and you're like, that, woman looks amazing, I want to document her outfit, her style, her vibe. You know what I mean? Just go ask. Now, another fun thing you can do is make still lifes. You can do your own, grab some farmer's market flowers or some found objects just around your house. Maybe you have a collection of things that you love and you can make a still life out of it. And you can use poster board or cardstock as a background, as kind of a seamless. You can use different colored lamps. If you have fun LED lights, you can use that to kind of reflect off of things. But yeah, making a still life of collections, objects, even trash that you find when you're on your walk. It can be a really fun thing to document. And in that same vein, that leads me into the next one is you can do flat lays with things like that as well. So that's where you kind of arrange things on a flat surface and then you photograph from directly above. And those are really fun for collections. Lisa Congdon did a really cool series years and years ago where it was all her kind of different collections of tchotchkes and knickknacks. And she'd gather them into kind of themes. Like one of them, I think, was like pink erasers, and she would line them all up and take a picture. And they look really cool. I think she made a book of it. I can't remember. Let me know if you remember. Anyway, she's really cool too. But flat lays are amazing. If you have Lego bricks, if you have, even like little food, snacks. We got those little, those little mini brands that come in those balls. We have a ton of those. Those would be really good. We got the retro ones because I wanted the little disposable camera. Like how cute. And then there's like a film canister in here and VHS. Anyway, love it. Tiny toys make a good flat lay, or still life. It's a good time. Get creative with it. There's so much that you could do. You could play with textures that they're sitting on. You can play with levels, what's higher than the next thing. You can play with color, what's in the background. There's so much you can do. I love a still life, love a flat lay. And sort of in the same vein, but with a little twist, you can do like a diorama. So taking those objects or different kinds of things and kind of telling a story with them instead. So we have dino toys, we have Lego bricks and minifigs, coming out our ears. So there's so much you could do with, it's kind of like Dinovember, if you know that account. Plastic dinosaurs get up to all kinds of shenanigans in November on Instagram. But yeah, you can make a diorama and come up with all kinds of different stories and silly things. And, if you're feeling a little extra, you could do a stop motion with it. I think it'd be fun. There's a lot of potential there, especially if you are someone, if you have a kid who, loves storytelling, loves making up, imaginative play. So I think that would be a really fun one for folks who really like telling stories. Okay, there's only 4 more left. All right, thank you for sticking with me. All right, you can document the process of making something. So if you are cooking, you can document the recipe that you're making. If you make a craft, you can document the making of a thing. Like if you're gonna crochet a scarf, say, you take a picture of your skeins of yarn, and then like pictures of the first few rows, next few rows, and then picture of it on you. You know what I mean? Like just documenting the kind of little process of making. I think it's really fun. Another easy one to do is outfit photos. You can go back to David's Instagram, look at your posing, practice that and document the outfits that you wear, that your family wears. You can do it all together, and it might be a fun way to play with fashion in photography. So you can pick things, maybe brighter colors you wouldn't normally wear. Maybe you go all monochromatic if you want to. There are so many different ways to play with color and shape in fashion photography. And I think that would be a fun thing to do, especially with a little kid, because that would get them thinking about fashion as well, which I think is a really fun way to express yourself. Okay, another thing I got this idea when I was sitting at my dinner table and looking. We have a poster of The Princess Bride, movie poster, which is a perfect movie and is one of my most favorites of all time. And the movie poster has the grandfather and Fred Savage, like sitting and like reading the story to each other, And I thought it would be a really fun idea to kind of like recreate scenes from a movie or famous movie posters or something from a cartoon, something silly. But recreating that, especially with like what you have around the house, I think is really fun. It's kind of like this idea of, do you remember that movie Be Kind, Rewind? This is all coming from like my new media class in college, like 15 years ago. But we watched that movie, and in that movie, they would do what they called suiting a movie. So they would basically make their own kind of low budget version of that movie to get people to rent more tapes from their store. Anyway, but I think it would be really fun to recreate different scenes from a movie or a famous movie poster with outfits or props that you have around the house. Just a random idea. I don't know. And then the last one, super easy, kind of incorporated in a lot of these already, is just self-portraits. There are a lot of different ways to do really creative self-portraits. You can use different lighting, different backgrounds, different props, all kinds of stuff. So just kind of experiment with self-portraits. All right, so that is my March Snart plan. If you are going to participate, let me know. I would love to see what you do if you document things. This is a great thing to put on Instagram as well. I'm hopefully going to be sharing a few things myself. I would like for this month to be a little bit more productive than the last couple of months of Snart for us. But I'm really excited about this, and I'm really glad that my son is super stoked about it. And I think this weekend will get a lot of photos done. And I'm absolutely going to go get a disposable camera from the grocery store, even though it's $20. I swear, weren't they like $8, maybe $10 in the 90s? Because you would always whenever you went to a concert, you had to go get a new like disposable camera before everybody had digital cameras. Because even then, like phones could take pictures, but they're terrible, you know? Like wouldn't want that. So it was the digital cameras. Anyway, I'm going to go get one of those. I'm going to make sure we've got enough film for our Instax and then go digging through our kind of old cameras and see what we can do. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening to me ramble. I hope you like the idea of Snart. Again, tell me if you do any of this stuff. It's a lot of fun, and I like teaching my kid about different kind of art forms. And yeah, anyway, I never know how to end these. I don't have ads in the podcast. Obviously, I'm still a baby, but I do have a Substack. You can feel free to donate there if you want. All my content is still free. It's just like a tip jar. It's like a buy me a coffee. So if you feel like it, it's like $5 a month. That would be awesome. If not, that's fine. In this economy, please. That's why I didn't want to put anything behind a paywall, though I respect the people who do, because their art is worth it. I'm rambling. You're amazing. Thank you for being here. You can find me on Instagram at @TheBeckyHelms. You can find me on YouTube, on Substack. I am terrible at using Blue Sky, but I'm trying. Yeah, find me all over the place. Come say hey. If you participate in a little Snart, let me know. And if you have ideas for snacks, let me know that too, because right now, honestly, my favorite thing, let me show you. Side note, if you're on YouTube, we'll have a visual. But Nerds gummy clusters, I'm sorry, but it's one of the greatest candies ever made. Oh, I could eat them all day. Anyway, I love you. I'll see you next week, and I'm not going to tell you what it's going to be next week because I don't know. All right, bye. I love you.